it's
Oh,
already
so
up
I
there.
thought you were recording this one.
Yeah, we're recording.
So why do you care if someone's watching?
Well, we record all of them, but they're all live on YouTube.
All right.
So it's not like it has to be live. I could just record it off the air, but fuck it. So we're here with Javier Villegas or John Village, depending on who you ask. Uh, I
Javier Villegas today.
huh?
Javier Villegas today.
Javier
John Village
Villegas today. Okay.
notification. I was thinking John Village died in one of my last videos,
Well, I didn't
but
see that
I'm
one.
not resurrected.
I didn't see the one where John Village died. I need to see that.
I think he died. He had a stroke or something. I thought it was a heart attack, but someone told me that those were the symptoms of a stroke. So it might have been a stroke.
I
But
really missed this video. You actually made a video of John Village dying.
yeah.
We need to find the original video where I was your agent.
Oh, I have it. It's on my old YouTube page. I'll send it to you.
All right, perfect. So anyway, I wanted to talk to Javier about being mentally strong because, to be quite honest with you, I've had Javier say I'm scared, but he's never seemed scared. And he's always thrown down everywhere no matter what the conditions were. So I feel like if you were going to ask somebody, if I was going to ask somebody about being like just always on point all the time no matter what the conditions are, Javier would be my go-to guy, or Chuck.
Yeah. Well, Chuck has more of an idea what he's doing.
But I think Chuck just
Uh,
actually doesn't care that, like, I think you got it backwards. Like I think for how Chuck appears, I think that he's just more of a wild man. I think you're a little more calculated than Chuck is.
I I think I used to trust a lot of my ability, whether I was right or wrong. I could tell myself, you know what you're doing, whether I did or not. Like I kept repeating myself with my mantra. Like I kept repeating myself, you know what you're doing. You do this every day. Like it's gonna work. But a little bit of the backside of that, I wasn't that 100% sure it was gonna work my way. I just kept trusting it, and it kept going that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's everybody know, right? Like my biggest issue is jumping a jump the first time, but once I've jumped it once, even if it's been like a year, right? If it's like a dirt jump or something, it's always way easier to jump it again for the first time because I can be like, you know how to do this. So I just set it on myself and I'm just like, listen, just like you said, trust in my ability. You know how to do this. You've already jumped it before. Just jump it. And it's way easier to convince yourself to do it that time than to do it the very initial time when you haven't jumped it at all.
Well, yeah, there's also like when I get to that point, like it's been a while since I hit this ramp or this setup, and I have to go there, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's been 6 months since the last time I did it, and I started developing this now that I've been working with all these kids riding on my backyard on these ramps, and talking about big tricks and not committing to them. And I told them like, there's two ways to look at it. If you go, if you do it quick enough, you don't get enough time to be scared. Like, don't get yourself enough time to be scared of what you're gonna do. And if you actually had enough time to be scared, you have to think like, dude, this is gonna be over in a second. Whatever goes good or bad is gonna be over in a second, and you just like face it and go for it. That's what I've been doing lately. And I developed this way of thinking, trying to teach these kids how to do the things they've been doing on their bikes and scooters.
Well, the way I explain it to people is so like at the days where I'd be at shows or something and I would be nervous, I would the whole day I would just go through the motions of the day, right? And it's like if you're
Don't think
concentrating
about it.
exactly, if you're concentrating on what you are doing right now, what I have in my hand right now, I can't be worried, right? Because if you're in the present moment, you're constantly worried about I'm holding this thing, don't drop this thing or whatever, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like, if you give enough time to yourself to think about it, dude, I gotta go jump this gnarly setup on a tiny basketball arena, and with no traction, no pads on the wall, and you start thinking about it, you're just gonna start hyping yourself about it and go there. Most likely hit that wall because you're just thinking about that outcome. But if you don't think about it until you have to face the ramp, you don't get yourself enough time to really freak out about it, and you can focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, once it's time to go, it's time to go. You can't at that point you have to be focused. Well, I mean, but it's even goes like we were saying, if you just go through all the steps at hand, right? Then once you get to the actual step of jumping the ramp, that's where you are, and you have to jump it or whatever. So then you should still be in the present moment of just thinking of the things that you have to do to accomplish this goal versus being like you said, thinking about it way prior to where you can think about if I go long. Listen, I've done it, sat there and imagined myself going long and smashing the wall or whatever, you
I've
know?
done it too. I've done it. It's horrible.
It's so easy to do that to yourself and just start imagining things, and you're like, what are you doing? Just don't even, don't think about that.
Well, you have so much time in the air to think about all the things you could have done different to avoid what's going to happen right now.
Well, the problem is when you mess up off the lip, that 3 seconds, you can have like 100 thoughts.
Yeah,
uh,
you're like thinking like, man, I should probably not go that far away to turn and start gassing. Maybe I should check the traction. Maybe it's too late now, but you got all that time to think about how you messed up and what you're gonna do to save it or to get the minimum amount of damage as you land.
exactly, where am I going to skid? Where looks like the best place for me to skid on my face? i'm going to I'm going to steer away from that big steel thing, and I'm going to try and aim over here.
Well, I did a month ago. I was doing this show in Germany for Night of the Jumps, like they call it the Nation Series or something like that. And this kid from Germany, dude, he landed perfect, but for some reason he whisked throttle as fast as you could go into a wall. It was all over Instagram. Freaking kid did I pinned it from the landing to the wall, and those are the things like how do you do that? Like how, why? Like it goes so fast that as soon as you gas, there's no time to grab the brake or the clutch or nothing. It's like, oh, here it is. Whoa.
Yeah, no, that sometimes is he was he a new kid?
Yeah, it's a newer kid from Germany.
Yeah, just panicked. Didn't listen. I Anybody, if you get whiskey throttle and your wrist gets stuck, lift your elbow. That's what I tell myself all the time. If I get stuck, I'm just like, don't try to roll your wrist off. Lift the elbow.
I tried to grab my clutch.
That's probably a good one.
Yeah, I know you're still moving at high speed into a wall, but you're not accelerating anymore. I mean, it's not that much time that you have between landing and whisk it throw into a wall. There's what, 2, 3 seconds more? It's not that much.
Yeah, no, not very much at all. Especially if you panic and get stuck in, like I said, your arm gets stuck into that type of position, then you're kind of done. Paul did that shit, broke his hip.
Well, I did it, and I was lucky enough that this was more one of those high-end events that had a bunch of tough blocks in the wall, a double layer of tough blocks. Still hurt, but I was alright.
Yeah. So that's just it. That basically you said the same thing I was thinking. Is just pretend it's a normal day until it's too late to pretend it's a normal day. And at
Yeah,
that point, you then need to focus on what is going on right now, and you don't have time to be scared about today.
exactly. I behave like any other day, like I'm hitting my own ramp, my own setup. I behave like that until the front wheel takes off the ramp. Then I switch to flip side. Okay, what we're gonna do now?
See,
From there,
I normally start freaking out when I rolled out onto the floor.
yeah, I do freak out a little bit. Like this last show I did in Germany 2 weeks ago, I was hitting one of those European ramps, 8 meter radius. They're supposed to be popular, so they set it up a little bit closer. and those are things that start going around your head. Okay, this ramp's up here, it is closer, and as I'm gonna approach it, like I'm gonna do a test run, and I line up, and I realize I'm inside a trench. There's no way out. As soon as I got into the ramp, the only way out was clearing the ramp, and I had to stop, turn around like a freaking amateur, asked to move the top blocks out of the way and roll away and just jump it right off the back. There was no test run for me, and the whole way to the run and think like, just gas it like you would gas any other ramp. If you go long, you go long, but don't case this. This is super close line, and actually worked pretty good. Also because the guy in charge of my bike promised me a 50 sprocket, and he didn't set it. He didn't put it in, and I was running on a different sprocket, and I didn't know it until after practice. But that played in my favor, I guess.
Damn.
And the fact that I was riding a really crappy bike in Brazil the week before that.
But the constant radius ramp, you have to stay on the gas through the top of the face, right?
Uh, um, a little bit. It kicks you a little bit, but it doesn't throw you as high as the American ramps.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we had some constant radius ones, those Innovate Concepts ones, and they were constant radius, and they sent your ass to the moon. But yeah, you had to make sure that you were held off a little bit extra long so that you could have it fucking pinned through the face. Otherwise, you were pinned in the air.
Yeah, I don't know. I hit it just like, well, it depends the ramp. Also, it's not only the ramp, it's the setup. Sometimes, like dirt is never level. The ramp could be in somewhere or whatever. Like, I just jumped like I knew the ramp, and I only had to jump it once because then we had another ramp that was more similar to American ramps, and I ended up just jumping down it. But the first ramp I hit was down because I was the only one that was ready at the time.
Nice. So you guinea pigged it for no reason.
Absolutely. No, I wasn't the first one to jump, and the European guys were like,
Ah,
and then they were upset I was jumping the other ramp because they said, no, this ramp, you know how it is. Everywhere you
yeah,
go,
yeah,
my ramp's the best.
yeah, yeah,
Everywhere.
yeah. Whatever. If you want to jump the other ramp and not put fucking ruts in the run up to this one, I'm totally fine with that. Go ahead and jump
I'm
that one.
absolutely okay with that. I don't know what was the problem with it.
You mean
No,
less people are gonna make a rut at this ramp? Oh,
no,
The-
these guys were upset because we were supposed to do a train, and Mason and I didn't want to hit their ramp, so they were stuck jumping our ramp, and they couldn't level. Like they were endoing every time they jump, and I'm like, "What the hell, dude? Like you've been doing freestyle for all freestyle existence, and the other guy's like the best guy from Europe, and you're struggling on." Okay, that's your own business.
Did you tell him to turn his idol up?
I don't tell the older people what to do anymore because I don't like younger people telling me what to do.
Yeah, but you're older.
Yeah, older than the new generation.
You're an old man in this sport now. You and Mason, fuck.
Dude, we already through our middle life crisis, and I'm on the retirement plan already.
I know. I retired. Well, I'm also older, so I guess it'll be the same by the time you guys retire. But you're probably already, how old are you? 20, 35, 36?
I'll be 35 this year.
Oh, yeah, I retired at 36. So,
I still would like to push it at least 5 more years. So having my older kid is 18 and he can, do his own stuff and watch his dad throughout his whole life, never have to work for, a regular job, at least until he leaves. I'll keep him on maybe when he's 16 so I can retire earlier.
yeah. I remember when you first had your kids, you were like, I don't think I want them to ride. I don't, like, I love riding, but I know the shit I've been through. I don't want them to ride. And now you got a action village in your backyard, and everybody and their brothers over there doing backflips.
Well, I still have the same mindset. I really wish we would ride, but we want to. And, and I know if I deny it, like if I close the doors to that option, they're going to go somewhere else and do it. And
Yeah,
actually, watching them ride either dirt bikes or bicycles or scooters, it takes a lot more mental strength of me than everything I do. Like watching Javi doing backflips and Benjamin doing backflips, then going to the BMX jumps and jump stuff that I don't even know how to jump. That takes a lot out of me because I'm freaking out. I'm scared, but I can show them that because if I show them I'm scared, that's going to translate to them, and they're going to start being cautious about what they're doing. And I really want them to find their own limits. I don't want to give them my limits, and that takes a lot out of me. I just like keep giving them props for whatever they do, whether I'm freaking out or I'm okay with whatever they're trying.
You know, and that's a good, that kind of translates over into what we were talking about and the fear thing. And I think that, like, the fact that Austin and Ray didn't do backflips is contributed to the fact of them watching Paul and I have so much like mental anguish about flipping. So like they saw how nervous we were about it, and that's how they perceive it now. But if they were around a bunch of people, like, because they're super talented riders, they're way
They
more
are.
talented than I am. Like, there's no reason that both of them shouldn't be fucking flipping. They're way more talented. But it's just the fact of they watched us trip out about flipping, and that got into their head, and that really was impressed upon them, and then they took on like that type of view of the flip. Whereas,
Because how old were they when they're starting hanging out with you and watching you doing that? But
yeah, they were probably 17, 18,
yeah,
19, 20.
yeah, like that's a really important age for kids to develop their personality. So if they're watching you freaking out, they're like, whether they're playing it cool and calling, oh man, you're a pussy, you're not flipping all that, but at the bottom line, that's still getting on their heads. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
be on the back of your heads. Like, dude, yeah, seeing the guy I worked with tell me pretty much everything I know. He's scared about this just because there's something going on. While on the other hand, you got my kids here watching me flip all kinds of stuff, not because I thought it was easy, but because I just wanted to progress. I wanted to prove the whole industry that I was worth being here. And they saw us, dude, my dad flips everything. I can flip it too. And dude, that freaks me out. The first time I took my son and to flip to a skateboard, I was, man, I really don't want him to do this, but he wants to, and I have to be supportive.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing, you know, and I had a conversation with somebody about those guys, and they were like, not, nah, they're just good riders. And I was like, listen, I'm not taking that away. I didn't teach them how to ride. I didn't give them their ability. But there are groups of people, like there was two kids in Florida that rode together, had a freestyle course, all that shit, but didn't do that many tricks. And it was because the people that they were surrounded with were scared and weren't doing that many tricks. But if those guys, like, so then Ray and Austin, those guys were way better than those other kids because the original people that they saw are Paul and I. But you can see that they do all the tricks that we thought were that we did easy. They do all those tricks like way better than we ever did them, and way easier than we ever
And
did them.
so,
So if they were around somebody like you, or you know, like, or in California, like where, or even let's take Nevada for example. Is it a coincidence that there's like whatever six good guys come out of Reno, Nevada that all knew each other growing up?
yeah, riding together almost every day, it's that. It's like watching the other guys riding at your level and pushing it every day. That's what gets you to the next riding ability. Like, you keep pushing your ability. You start watching, oh, if that guy can do that, I can do it too.
Exactly, and a lot of it, you know, when we were out on the East Coast, you know, all that we saw was stuff in magazines or VHSs or whatever, you know. So I think automatically in your head, those guys were like larger than life because all that you saw was stuff in magazines or videos or whatever, you know. And when you actually know somebody and hang out with them and jump the same ramp and this and that, it brings it to like a more attainable level versus watching somebody on, you know, TV or whatever. So I mean, it's all what you're exposed to and what the normal level for the people that you're riding with is. If everybody, you know, I tell people, uh, let's take like where I grew up. You know, nobody really rides. So all those guys are like, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. You can't jump that. You can't make that. Now, if I'm with you, it's basically like a race to jump something. It's
Yeah,
not can it be
who will
jumped.
jump first.
It's who's going to jump it first, right? So it's a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah, and well, California has slowed down on that. Like, there's not as many people riding as it used to be 5, 10 years ago. But there's still like, and that actually hurts my riding because I have to pretty much go on a hunt to keep on pushing my riding, and I translate it to something else now. Like, I ride with riders with a lower riding ability than me, right? Not riding ability, but riding level than me. I've been riding a lot with Vicky Golden lately. But my goal to keep pushing my riding is like, well, if she can do this, because she's starting, like, if she can get double grabs, I should be able to be doing rock solid backflips. So as soon as she learns double grabs, regular double grabs, I start working on rock solid backflips, so I can, keep up my, not watching someone better than me, but not letting that somewhat newcomer catch up to me. She's getting the backflip dialed, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So I start working on 360s, and man, front it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think where I guess Taka's hurt right now at the moment. Who do you normally? I know that you ride a lot with Vicky, but who else do you normally ride with?
Well, I do ride with Taka when he's not out of town, which is like every 2 weeks. But it's Biggie, Taka, Jimmy Fitzpatrick, and every now and then Twitch, Axel Hodges. But they're like on a different program than I am. Like, they know they have to keep progressing to keep making it. Like, I do have to keep pushing it to get a spot in the next event. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, and it doesn't seem like there's anyone else that's actually pushing it that hard. The only rider I see pushing it hard, but it's on the East Coast, it's Brody Wilson. That's focusing on that snow bike, and mom to not see him on X Games though.
Yeah, what I felt like either sled or snow bike. Like, how is he not in X Games?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I think he's on the same group that I am, but we actually piss someone off on the industry, really high in the industry. We never get a chance. Like, it's hard for us to get into any of the bigger events.
Yeah, that is weird because he started flipping that sled like far enough in advance. You figure he would have gotten a
Yeah, almost a year ago.
yeah.
Well, probably was the fact that he was flipping it wrong. He wasn't kissing his tank every time he flipped. That's why they didn't want him
He was flipping it smooth and looked like fucking in control.
there. Yeah, like, what's wrong with him?
Stella wanted to be on the show today.
Yeah, I saw it still. He's there.
All right. Yeah, so that's I mean, we pretty much got to how you handle the, the fear and a lot of things like you said, like a lot of riding and stuff like that and dealing with like a level. You're going to ride at the level of the people around you. And so if you surround your, everybody says surround yourself with people in the same mission, this and that, but they don't explain it. And it's like
Yeah.
basically if everybody around you thinks that you're a fucking lunatic for trying to jump stuff, you're not going to be apt to
You start
jump.
second guessing yourself. Like, maybe I do need some help.
Yeah, maybe this is stupid. Maybe this is a totally stupid idea, and I'm an idiot for
Which
doing
it
this.
is. Which it is.
I agree.
I'm with that people, dude. Like, I'm with that people. Like, doing backflips on a 200-pound motorcycle with all kinds of spinning pieces of metal. It's not smart, but man, it's so much fun.
I I agree. I was just before I got hurt, dude. I was having so much fun just even racing, just doing laps and starts and racing people. I was pumped on the vet stuff.
Yeah, but freaking bikes, dude.
I
They
know.
pay you back.
Motorcycles are so fun until they're not.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the first couple of weeks after any accident is when your mental strength goes to hell.
Yeah, when
It's
you're
like, why
like,
am I doing this? Like, oh man, I'm so stupid. I'm quitting now. This is it. I'm selling the bikes on Monday.
dude, I fucking was racing a a vet class at a local race in Texas with like 6 people in my class, and I hole shotted and was gone by like 16 seconds. And go to jump some triple I jumped once in practice, case the shit out of it, and break my leg. Like, absolutely no reason for me to jump that fucking triple at all. And then
You were just feeling it.
for the next 6 months, I'm just like, you didn't need to jump that.
But that wouldn't be the thought if you actually cleared it.
Did nothing. I wouldn't have thought about it again.
You know, man, that triple was so cool.
It was so much fun. It was fun in practice. It dried out and it got so dry that I just spun all the way up the face and just cased it. But I mean, even so, think about it. Like you said, like 3 feet more, no problem. It's a little.
Yeah,
You hang your wheel up at the top, and you're like, oh, that was a little bit short.
yeah, dude, yeah, freaking dirt bikes, man. Because I mean, for me, it's normally 2 weeks after every injury. It's like, dude, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I didn't need to do that. You know what? I'm done with all this pain. I don't want to suffer anymore. I'm gonna get a regular job on Monday. As
Yeah,
soon
and
as I
then
heal, get a regular job.
and that's when the real pain comes in.
Yeah. But then as soon as the actual pain, like the main pain from the first impact, starts fading away, which is about 2 weeks on, I'm starting missing riding. And like maybe you can push some other show, you know, make it through the month. I'll get this show, make it through the month, so I have enough time to get a new job, and then we're in the loop again, doing more shows.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard, man. I believe me. I've been offered some shit that I've turned down, and I'm like, 3 grand a week? I don't know.
Dude, dirt bikes are a hell of a drug, man.
Yo, I tell people it's like stripping. It's too easy to go make a couple grand, then hang out for a couple weeks, you know? You just gotta be scared and shake your ass in front of some people, and then you're good.
Dude, that's a good analogy. We're like, we're the hookers.
We are. Do you remember Jeff Banks?
Yeah.
He always used to say like they would have money and they'd be like, roll over, roll over. And he goes out and does a rollover and that's it. He gets his money.
uh,
He's like, I'm like a dog, dude. I just roll over for money, for treats.
it is true. Like we do all kind of tricks for treats, but we're also having fun, dude. Like it is fun to do. It is
You,
fun to scare yourself every now and then. Like seriously, when I go a long time repeating the same tricks and not getting scared, I get bored, and that's when I start pushing my running again. But I need someone like that's pushing it with me because if not, I don't get motivated to do it.
yeah. Now think about how good Hartman got by himself in a field.
Right.
Or even Brody. Brody rides by himself most of the time. Like, how the fuck do you motivate yourself like that?
Well, when you're younger, it's easier to motivate yourself. I don't know if he's still as motivated as he used to be. Like also getting doors closed every time you try something, you start losing motivation and you start wondering why are you even doing this? And and for me, it's been like that. Like trying to get into X Games, and they're like, "Oh no, dude, we got a stacked field. We can set you there," or having to qualify back to World Games, or not even get a call for X Fighters, stuff like that. Yeah, I really lose motivation out of that. But the only motivation I have now is like waking up and looking at both my kids and just saying, like, dude, I taught them that you gotta keep pursuing your dream, and I can't quit. Like, I made it this far now. I can't quit now. Like, we're all in the same boat. They all make sacrifices for me. My wife made sacrifices for me, and I can't just like, we're done. We're just trying to do something else. I can't do that now. That's my main motivation now. Keep pushing it for them. No, not even for me anymore. Like, it is for me because I love writing, but it's also for them because they've done a lot for me to keep up with my expectations of life.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I think they're learning good lessons, obviously. And those kids have already seen you persevere through some shit.
Yeah, they had to pick me up pretty much uh, on pieces from the ground.
Well,
They've been laughing at me on the ground too, which is rough. That's like one of the hardest ones I had. It wasn't a bicycle though. I crashed in front of them and they were just cracking out while I was trying not to die.
What what about that was Javier's first bad injury, his foot.
Oh, his broken ankle. Yeah, that was his first injury, with injury and everything. And that's when I told him, like, dude, the injury that you have is like tiny. Like, there's a bunch of injuries that hurt a lot more than this, and you felt how much this one hurt. Like you were crying. Like it's from here and up. Like there's no injury that's less than that. Like this is like the minimum amount of pain you're gonna feel in an injury. Now it's your call. Do you want to keep on going? Want to keep riding dirt bikes? You want to keep doing backflips on bicycles? Because it's gonna happen again. It's your call. Like I'm not gonna force you if you're not into it. I totally understand. I'll support you because I know I actually want to keep riding. And he's been itching to hit all of his jumps, and he's still like another week out before he's clear to start getting into it. But he wants to do it, and I know it's gonna suck for all of us, but I have to support it. Maybe he can make a career out of this, maybe not. But I don't want him to go into adulthood thinking that he didn't get all the chances of doing what he wanted to try.
No, that's good. I tell people that you're not really a freestyler until you go through the 2 years of constant injuries, right? Because everybody goes through that like you get hurt and then you come back and then you get hurt right again and then there's
And
like
you're not even done feeling pain from the last injury when you're already wrapping your leg around your neck again.
exactly you're limping along, just barely riding, and then you fuck yourself up again right off the bat, and then you're just like, oh, I don't know about this.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the cutting edge. That's when, if you go through that, you can go through anything.
Exactly. And everybody
And
goes through it.
you right until you die, pretty much.
Yeah, and everybody goes through that. It's just how early or far into their career does it happen, because everybody's gonna hit that point, and it's I tell people, if it's your first time on a motorcycle and you break your tib fib, you're probably over it. Yeah, that's the end of motorcycles for you. But if you're a couple years in and you're really good, and then you break a leg, you know what I mean? It's a different thing. But if like it really is how early on, have you caught the bug fully before you get hurt and really got some aspirations, or does it happen like right off the bat and you're just like, yeah, this shit's a little too much?
Yeah, well, that's what's going to happen. Like, you're going to go through that, which is going to be like a barrier of what separates, boys from men, pretty much. And that's when you realize, like, you know what, I'm going to keep riding at this level. You know what, I'm going to keep pushing it. You know what, this is not for me. So
Yep.
those are the three things that are going to happen. You're either going to keep riding at that level, never going to push it ever again, because you don't want to go through that, or you're either going to quit, or you say, you know what, this was just a small setback, but I'm going to keep on pushing.
See, I was right in between. I'm never gonna push it again, and I'm gonna push it some more. I only slightly
Well,
pushed it after after my string of injuries. I only like slightly pushed it after that. I I made sure I
yeah,
was
remember
really
when you
safe.
said you didn't wanted to flip your 450, and then you came to California and flipped it, and then did some free ride with Twitch, and Twitch gave you a thumbs up, and I think that was your happiest day of your life.
And that was it. Twitch was like, "What's up? You jumped this? Yo, I jumped a dirt hit. Never jumped it before. Just followed Twitch off of it, because he's
Which was
like."
like already amazing for you. Like you were like tripping balls on that. What? I
I
followed
still
Twitch.
have that video. I actually just watched it the other day. I'm gonna post it up. And then as we're rolling off from the downside, like he didn't even. So here's the whole story. I had a bike with no graphics on it or anything. There wasn't one thing on it. I was just totally black. I had no name on my shit, anything. And I just started following him around and jumping shit behind him for like a couple of minutes. And he finally stopped, and I rolled up to him, and he realized who it was, so he started laughing because he was like, he even said, he goes, I had no idea who the hell was following me around. So then he goes, did you try to hit this other jump? It's like right next to that one. So I just followed him right off it, and I landed. And as we're going into the turn, he like looks back and sees that I jumped it and gave me a thumb up. And Javi and I were just like, shh. Twitch just gave me Twitch just gave me a thumbs up on a dirt hit. I mean, you know what I mean? I can fucking call it
You
quits
should have
right
quit
now.
right there.
Uh,
That's like how I moved career. Like you should have quit right there.
I should have. I wouldn't have broke my leg or anything. I should have just stopped right then, got thumbs up from Twitch, call it a day.
That's it. Load your bike, never unload it again. But the funny thing about that situation, you know how many people has done that? I think Twitch was testing you because
Yeah.
how many people has followed him at Fitzland and just ate shit right behind him?
I don't know. I mean, the
It
landing.
happens a lot. It happens a lot. Like people say, "Oh, let me follow you up this jump," and boom, dead right on those jumps.
Here's the thing, though. Those dirt jumps, like that day that I jumped that dirt jump, and you were like, "Whoa, I can't believe you jumped that." That landing is 100 fucking feet long. How in the like? I would have had to have been in entire gear, totally wrapped out to miss that landing.
Yeah, but when you don't have a nice setup suspension or any riding skills, they get you.
So are you saying I didn't crash because I have good suspension?
And a decent amount of skills.
Okay. Yes.
I'm giving you a thumbs up now.
I was riding McCarty's bike, which was hard as fuck. So I probably could have gone to flat on that thing and still survived it.
You probably wouldn't even feel it. Would have been the same. Like, breathing or flat landing would have been the same.
No, if I'd gone long on that, definitely. Like you end up dropping like another 50 feet if you go long on that thing. But it wasn't. It's so far out there, it wasn't gonna happen. I was just pumped that I impressed Javier and Twitch in those 2 days at
Well, you
Fitzland.
did impress me when you guys went to the hills and when you jumped Stairway to Heaven. The you know you were what 4 or 5 days building that thing by shovel.
Which one?
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
The one you built from nothing, from
Yeah.
scratch.
That impressed you?
That you jumped that thing? Yes.
What about the big step up out at Richie that we jumped?
That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, no, that not Stairway. The one years ago, the one that you flipped. The one the one that Alex Cervantes broke his leg on like 30 feet in front of me.
Yeah, that was impressive too. But I don't know, dude. We were younger. The younger you are, like the less I get impressed. Like mostly, I developed this maybe because I'm older and I'm hating on the newer generation. If someone still tells me like, "Oh, this is the youngest ride to over double backflip," so youngest means less responsibility. Less pain in their bones. Joints are more lubricated. Like everything's better when you're young. Yeah, when you're younger, do whatever you want. Now if you show me, hey, this is the oldest guy to ever do a double backflip, now I'm impressed.
Now you're like, oh, praise
Yeah,
thee.
like Paul, dude, he was, scratching those 50,
Yeah.
and dude, he was still doing super flips and learning new tricks, and dude, he was riding up there. Dude.
That was the
I'm
most
very
impressive part to me was that he was still progressing.
Exactly, dude.
Oh.
When you're getting 50, your brain doesn't work at the same speed.
No.
Your bones and muscles are aching. And he was still pushing. Dude, I'm 34 and my mornings are not a party.
And your balls suck up into your body when you're like,
And you're
you want me to do
if
what?
I messed up here, how the hell am I paying mortgage next month?
Yo, you got like I tell people now, they go, why'd you stop riding? And I'm like, I'm a dinosaur and I don't want to do the shit these fucking guys are doing now. I don't want to have to do kiss of death flips.
Well, that's what I fucked up because I do.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like so glad that shit ain't even bouncing around in my head.
Yeah, dude, I still freak out when I say like, dude, there's so many people doing double backflips. I'm gonna have to start joining that club soon. But do I? That's the thing. Like, I'm divided. I want to. I'm scared as fuck. Yes, but I want to.
Yeah. I mean, I think wanting to and being scared don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. Maybe I'm just so scared I don't want to do it.
Yeah, like if you're scared enough, you don't want to do stuff. Like, I'm still like, You know what? Because I was practicing those 360s on the 150,
Uh-huh.
and I thought about doing a double backflip into the foam pit with that bike, and then I was like, dude, I really don't want to get buried in this foam pit. That freaks me out more than actually like crashing on a double backflip,
So
getting
you
buried
need to
upside
get an
down.
airbag then. You need to tell Jimmy to get an airbag, and then you can just wad yourself up on the airbag even when you land on your wheels.
Well, those airbags are not as much fun as people think they are.
Foam pits aren't as much fun as people think they are either.
No, airbags are less fun.
They're less fun than foam pits.
Less fun than that. Yeah. I mean,
Ugh.
airbags are that intermediate step between the foam pit and the dirt.
So
But
mulch.
they're not starting from the ground.
Airbags are like mulch.
Mulch is still more advanced.
More advanced than airbag.
Yeah, it would be foam pit, the box airbag, then the landing airbag, then mulch, then dirt. That's how it goes.
Well, I feel like a man then because I just went foam pit to mulch to dirt.
Those were the days, man. We should have that beer back then, that Millie beer back then.
Yeah. Remember, I even bailed off like my 10th one.
I remember. I think it was the second one, but whatever.
No, it was at least six. It was a ways in because I jumped like I flipped like I jumped a bunch of times, but I flipped like 10 times in the first session or 12 times or something
Oh,
like that. And then I stopped, but it was like right before I stopped, I ended up bailing because I was just like overpulled a teeny bit, but was just excited and it just ended up.
and if we look back, probably wasn't even that much of an over rotation.
No, I probably would have been fine. I would have rode it out for
And you
sure.
know what I've noticed? Like all these kids are practicing on airbags and foam pits like nonstop.
They all loop out because they have to, so they don't just eat their
Or
handlebars.
if they're under rotating, they think it's a great idea to land on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Like every time they under rotate, they just like go like this
Yep.
and freaking land sideways. Well, we never actually have that option.
Well,
Because
that's
our
the
foam pit
same in
sucks, so we wanted to
pits.
get out of the foam pit as soon as possible.
That's the same in pits, though. When people like half commit, they always go to a shoulder. They don't want to go like straight over their head, so they like
Yeah,
kind of.
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like these guys are practicing nonstop on foam pits or airbags. Get this, bad habit of going over their shoulder. While on our times, our foam pits weren't that great, so you didn't want to spend freaking 1,500 jumps into it. You just wanted to do 10 and say, you know what, 10 in a row is good. I'll just freaking go for it today.
Yeah,
You were over it, so you never actually had to develop that thing.
I actually got stuck upside down. I had a point where I kept getting stuck upside down off of maybe the box jump at Travis's or maybe a regular ramp, but I got really good at stepping through with my one foot to the side and then completing my backflip and landing on my feet like 5 feet away from the bike. It means I
Dude,
spent way too much time in the pit.
I remember when we thought it would be a great idea to fluff Chuck's foam pit. Your first jump, you got your flip perfect, and you completely disappear in the foam.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long. You were good. I don't think you were on the rotator or anything. But
Yeah.
the foam was so loose, there was no clue where you landed.
Was
It
that
was
later on when it was like there was the first part of the foam pit was empty or was that when it was still like
yes.
full?
It was like when the first, like pretty much all the foam was backed up into the back wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Good times.
Yeah. But you know what? We're all feeling manly here and everything, and then we have guys like Deegan and Metzger that pretty much, or Adams, Nate, that had to learn to bathroom straight to dirt.
Yeah. I mean, listen. Good for them.
True.
that's
Right.
that's like Greg. Do you remember Greg trying flips off the back of landings and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him, man. Go get it. I was like, you need to settle down. This seems unsafe. You need to just settle down. We'll figure something out.
Well, and now what? We freaking double backflips and those front flip ramps that everyone hates and burials.
Are you?
Progression.
Yeah. Are you gonna mess with the front flip ramp again?
I want to. I already. I mean, pretty much because I bought my own front flip ramp, the one I crash on,
Yeah.
but it needs to be modified so it looks closer to the one at Nitro. But then Travis told me that they might build a new ramp that's going to be more universal for everyone. But I don't know what I'm going to do. That's why I haven't actually pushed the front flip practice. But yeah, I'm down to do it. It was fun. It was just that one crash. I did have a few injuries here and there while learning to front flip. But it was fun. It is the progression of the sport. I know a lot of people is against it, but also people was against flip levers back in the day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think, yeah, it's of course it's way manlier to do a front flip of a regular ramp. But also it's way cooler to do a back from Shaolin with no flip levers. It is possible, but it's innate, and it's gonna help the sport make it make it to new grounds. It's gonna be easier to do front flip combos with that front flip ramp than it's gonna be to do with a regular ramp.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. Like, that's what somebody said about the flip levers. And I'm like, all it is making what's more things possible in that. It's just the same way like people complained about flip levers, but it's not necessarily, it's just making more things possible in a backflip. A front flip ramp is making more things possible in a front flip because otherwise
Yeah.
you're not gonna, I mean, you see the people that do it, they're just barely getting around. So that's all it will ever be
And
unless
it,
you
it never
have.
looks in control. It never looks in control.
No, they don't look smooth. So what you're saying is you need a new front flip ramp that rotates you perfectly. The last one you had rotated you too much, so you need a new one that rotates you
No,
less.
it rotated me good. It rotated me good, but it had too much belly crash. Like I went for it, and the rotation felt good, but I was going like 5 feet higher than I should have been. So when I spot the landing, I was still like, "Oh damn, I'm screwed now."
You couldn't rev the shit out of your bike.
I did. I panic revved it and I leaned back, tried to slow the rotation, but it was already too late. That's the thing with those front flip ramps. It's like flipping a super kicker. Like if you messed up a little bit on the takeoff, that's it. There's not much you can do.
You already have the momentum.
Yeah, correct. Like that's the thing. And that was the thing with that front flip ramp. I front flipped it first. On the airbag, I had it every time. And then I did it once to dirt and I kind of cased and under rotated. So I tried to preload it to get a little bit more rotation. But it gave me that extra rotation that I wanted, but it also gave me a lot more air. And that was because the ram had too much belly, and that's what I'm trying to fix it. Make it a ram that is a little bit mellower on the takeoff, so I just move forward and not up.
See, you just preload too hard.
Yeah.
You're a preloader.
Are you mocking me?
No, I'm saying you are. You preload super hard.
Yeah, and that was actually helping me a lot with the front flip combos because it gave me some good control of the rotation. I could speed it up or slow it down at will, but not on that ramp.
I got you. So the one at like Nitro Circus was easier.
Yeah, the one in Natural Circus. I think they used the mold of one of the old school ramps that were really flat, so it just throws you forward. And I would hit it like a regular 75-foot ramp and preload it good, and that's how I would control my rotation. Like preload it, and then just hold it with my head as I was looking to the landing, and then finish the rotation every time.
So then where did you get this ramp that you got?
I built it, but we never got the original plans from it. And I told these guys to build it, and they used their ramp they had. So that was the main problem.
Uh, gotcha. Well, now we're getting reverb, so we got what we need to talk about out of the way.
Okay, go on.
Yep. Well, thanks for being on, and hopefully this helps people figure out how to deal with being scared and overthinking.
Yeah, and just remember, don't get yourself enough time to be scared. Just deal with it. Handle it soon.
Yeah, or we would just joke around before shows. Keep it light.
Yeah, yeah, don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just when it has to happen, it's gonna happen. And if it has to happen, it really I'd rather it happen soon. If it's gonna go wrong, I'd rather it happen soon, early in the day, so I have enough time to go to bed after the hospital.
And technically, by the time you get to the event, you should have already done all your homework and preparation.
Pretty much.
You said one thing to me. I was going to do my first flip show, and you go success because luck is for people that are unprepared.
Oh yeah, that's when I used to be a dick.
Whatever. I love that statement.
Yeah, no, it is true. It is true because if you're thinking about luck, like when someone tells you like good luck, and you're thinking about luck, it's like you're putting too much on someone else's on faith or whatever you want to call it, and you had to be sure of what you're doing, and that you got to think on success. Success is for the one that's being prepared, because luck is for the one that never like it's just winging it, and it's also a good thing to wing it every now and then, but it's way better to be prepared.
There you go. I think that that's a good note to end. That's how I always told you after you told me that, and I would always tell people that the only way I deal with fear is by being prepared, and that's it.
That's pretty much it. It's like yeah, when you know you're ready, fear is not as heavy as it is when you're just like winging it.
There you go. All right. We're out,
But
people. Thank you for listening or watching or whatever.